Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. A few weeks back, me and Noah Jenks spent a weekend raising money for the T Fund, a charity meant to provide financial and emotional support to those seeking abortion care. And one of the incentives included the commissioning of an explained video of the donor's choice. And as it turns out, a very generous donor met the individual contribution goal, and thus, through the dark contract that binds audience and creator, this video has been called forth. Premiering in the March 2019 deck build pack, the Infinity Chasers, Evil Eye is a theme focused on one of my favorite mechanics, equip cards, and in this case, one specific equip spell, the Evil Eye of Selene. A mythical font of diabolic magic and power, and if you're willing to pay the price, its sinister might can be yours. At your disposal, you'll have fiendish familiars, arcane spells, and treacherous traps. Just be careful who might be eyeing up your newfound status, because the more allies you make and the more rivals you spurn, the more likely it is that you'll find a ritual dagger in your back. So, let's review your new infernal contract so you're up to speed, and so you don't balk at the fine print, put our pernicious powers to the test, then see what thralls we can bend to our will. It's time to eradicate all who oppose you with evil eyes! But before we continue, a quick reminder to please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content so far. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and there's no better way to get there than on our duel runners. Our next stop is 30k, where we'll have Jack Atlas Explained, which includes Resonators, Red Dragon Archfiend, and whatever other cards were used by the Master of Foster. We've also got our Discord, where all the other Pokemon better stand aside, because now we have Lechonk. I'm also on Twitch, where you can join me for viewer duels and progression pools, and don't forget about my Patreon, where you can gain access to my videos early, reach some of these milestones, as well as helping to determine which explained videos I make. Thank you all so much for watching, and now, back to the video. So, what's the deal with Evil Eyes? Well, they're a series of dark attribute fiend type monsters, and many of their effects care about you controlling the equip spell, the Evil Eye of Selene, unlocking additional effects of your monsters, spells, and traps to bring out their full potential. Some of our monsters also have a bit of a reap what you sow kind of structure, giving you a beneficial effect now, but forcing you to cough up something later in return. Careful what you wish for. And since the Evil Eye of Selene is so important, let's start with it. You can only equip this to an Evil Eye monster, and the equipped monster can't be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects, nor can your opponent target the equipped monster with card effects. It's just about the closest thing to becoming a tower you can get. And each time you activate the equipped monster's effect, or you activate another Evil Eye spell or trap card, the equipped monster gains 500 attack, and if it does, you lose 500 life points. And this attack gain stays even if the Evil Eye of Selene leaves the field. And if this card is in your grave, you can pay 1,000 life points, then banish an Evil Eye spell or trap card from your grave except another copy of itself, and set this card to the field, letting you re-equip it at your leisure. This can lead to some pretty big attack stats, because that life point to attack power effect, that's not once per turn. You can easily lose 2,000 life points in a single turn because you activated 3 spells and traps and the equipped monster's effect. So once your monster is all souped up, you better be ready to deal some direct damage, because if you aren't able to keep your opponent's life points as low as yours, you're gonna find yourself on the wrong end of some unfortunate attacks. However, its recursive nature makes it a bit more resilient against removal, as you can just banish another card to bring it right back. So nothing short of a cosmic cyclone is gonna keep you off this thing for long. So with how low your life total is going to get, games can really come down to who blinks first. Alright, we've set the basis for what the deck revolves around, let's get into the monsters that make it work. Basilius, Familiar of the Evil Eye, is a level 3 monster with 400 attack and 2000 defense, and if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can only do so once per turn. And during your main phase, you can send an Evil Eye spell or trap card from your deck to the grave. So not only is this a way to get Selene into rotation, since you can just set it back from your grave, it can provide the fuel needed to get it out of the grave as well. We also have an effect that can grab Evil Eye cards out of the grave, so this is another way to set that up. And the free special summon ain't too shabby either, as it helps with your link climbing, and oh goodness do we have some links we need to be climbing into. But before we get carried away, I think we need to get the art directors here to do some updates. The pattern along the back looks way too much like the whole portals in the Albaz storyline. You're liable to inspire some lore-addled Yugi tubers into making some really wacky theories. And you wouldn't want that, would ya? Katoblapas, familiar of the Evil Eye, is a level 3 monster with 600 attack and 1900 defense, and it can target an Evil Eye spell or trap card you control, and once, until the end of the next turn, that card can be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And if you control an Evil Eye monster other than Katoblapas while this card is in the grave, you can special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So where Basilius helps with setup, Katoblapas is here for protection. While you can recur the Evil Eye of Selene, it'd be much better if it just stayed put, and that's what this cuddly critter is gonna help with, putting a one-time shield around the eye that lasts for 2 whole turns. Kinda wish it just stayed indestructible for that period of time instead of only working once, but hey, they just came back from the grave, they're shaking off the rust, so I'm willing to give them a Katoblapas on this one. Medusa, Watcher of the Evil Eye, is a level 4 monster with 1400 attack and 1600 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can target an Evil Eye card in your grave, except another copy of itself, and add it to your hand. And if this card is equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene as a quick effect, you can target a monster in your opponent's grave and banish it. And once per turn, during the next standby phase after the effect was activated, you have to banish 1 card from your grave. The normal summon effect can be used to grab back a used Evil Eye of Selene so you don't have to pay the life points or banish the card, or can get something like Basilius for a free summon to help make a link too. Also, they have one of those mandatory detrimental effects I was talking about earlier. While Medusa can be a DD Crow, you're gonna have to point it at yourself later on if you don't have a way to get it off the field. But hey, if your grave is full of a bunch of hand traps you don't care about, then it doesn't really matter. See, the upside about these reciprocal effects is that you get to choose which cards get banished, so you can always take out your opponent's best cards while you toss out the scraps you don't even care about. And each time you do, this counts as an activation for the Evil Eye of Selene, both when you activate the quick effect and when the triggered mandatory effect goes off, as they both count as being activated. So all the while, Medusa becomes more and more powerful. Heck, after only a single cycle of that effect, they reach 2400 attack. I've heard about living like a queen, but this is some absolute monarch stuff right here. Surziel, Watcher of the Evil Eye, is a level 4 monster with 1600 attack and 1400 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can add any Evil Eye card from your deck to your hand, which includes the Evil Eye of Selene. And if this card is equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene as a quick effect, you can target a special summoned monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And once per turn, during the next standby phase after this effect was activated, destroy a card you control. This actually saw a small amount of premiere play, because for a time, people were testing if this could be a serviceable replacement for Masterpiece in true Draco decks. After all, the continuous spells and traps could take care of the tribute summoning, so the normal summon was wide open. Surziel immediately fetched you Selene, and once equipped, your opponent really couldn't interact with it. And every time you would use its quick effect pop to blast a monster, it just got bigger and bigger. Now, the downside was that it was only really splashable into true Dracos, because their continuous spells and trap gave you extra tribute fodder that those continuous spells and traps could cover for, which meant you didn't really have the extra slots for Evil Eye spells and traps to feed to Selene for its recursion effect, and any spell or trap removal kind of ruined the luster. However, in our own theme, this is a much more resilient and powerful effect, because we have the infrastructure to support it properly. But because the Evil Eye doesn't protect the equipped monster from our own destruction effects, you're gonna need to keep finding cards to feed to it. Otherwise, you're gonna have another victim of designer contact lenses on your hands. We all suffer for our art, but please, make sure you apply proper aesthetic safety. And that actually wraps it up for our main deck monsters. Now it's time for our extra deck ones. Gorgon, Empress of the Evil Eye, is a Link 2 monster with 1900 attack, requiring 2 monsters as material, including an Evil Eye monster. They gain 100 attack for each Evil Eye card with a different name in your grave, and if this card is equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene as a quick effect, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of this turn. And once per turn, during the next standby phase after this effect was activated, destroy a monster this card points to, With the help of Basilius, this is actually really easy to make, and assuming you use 2 Evil Eyes as material, Gorgon goes right to 2100. And having an on-demand effect veiler can really cramp your opponent's style. And the best part? Because the mandatory effect only destroys monsters they point to, as long as it doesn't point to any of your own monsters, you never have to worry about the repercussions. Heck, it doesn't even say it has to be your own monster it destroys. So if Gorgon is pointing to an opponent's monster, then for you, it's all upside. And as the game goes on, the more fearsome this monster's attack will become, not to mention the boosts you'll get from Selene. Your opponent better have a lot of effects off the field, because any plans Gorgon sees will go stone cold. Zurziel, ruler of the Evil-Eyed, is a Link 3 monster with 2600 attack, requiring 2 or more Evil Eye monsters as material. If this monster was Link summoned using a monster with 2600 or more attack as material, it can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if this card is equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene as a quick effect, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. And once per turn, during the next standby phase after using this effect, negate the effects of one effect monster this card currently points to. Once again, this does not need to be your own monster. If Zurziel is pointed to an opponent's monster, it'll lose all of its effects permanently. And guess what? It doesn't target. In fact, this makes Zurziel the opposite of Gorgon, having the quick effect be destruction while the mandatory effect involves negation, which, hey, is fine by me. And if Gorgon was large enough when you used them as material, or at least I assume you're laddering into Gorgon to make this work, then the double attack is going to be pretty nasty after a couple of Selene boosts, because it does not specify those attacks have to be on monsters. So for every 500 you pay into the eye, that's 1000 extra damage your opponent's gonna have to deal with. Combined with Selene's protections, there's nothing that'll stand in Zurziel's way. Except, of course, a big cloud of dust. Seriously, those eyes must get irritated something fierce. Wonder if they see the same optometrist as Thousand Eyes Restrict. Okay, so that's all the extra deck monsters, now it's time for the spells and traps. Evil Eye Awakening is a normal spell that special summons an Evil Eye monster from your hand or grave. Or if the Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, you can special summon an Evil Eye monster from your deck instead. This is a little less effective on our level 4 Watchers, as their on-summon effect only triggers on normal summon, but can get them onto the field if you need a good host for the Evil Eye. Alternatively, you can summon Basilius and Ketobla Paz to get their effects in motion. No matter what though, it's a great way to put material on board to make your Link monsters, which yes, does mean you're absorbing the bodies and spirits of your familiars to warp your mortal form into a flesh dungeon of unmitigated pain and suffering as a conduit for the entities beyond our narrow perceptions of realities. Did you even pay attention during Evil Eye orientation? Evil Eye Reemergence is a normal spell that special summons a familiar of the Evil Eye token, which is a level 1 Dark Fiend monster with 400 attack and defense. Or if you have the Evil Eye of Selene in your spell and trap zone, you can special summon 2 instead. Also, for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you can't special summon monsters except Fiend monsters. You can also banish this card from your grave so that your opponent can't target Evil Eye spells and traps you control with card effects this turn. This isn't much help if you've already established those cards, because if they have quick effect removal to use on your turn to take those cards out, they do it in response to this effect anyway. But it will protect any incoming Evil Eye cards, including Selene, so you can ensure you'll have it available to use for your turn. You might even be able to get rid of those pieces of interaction before the protection wears off. And the extra tokens aren't bad either, acting as a great way to summon Gorgon and Zurziel. Also, look at this smug son of a gun. Gorgon's gone full sicko mode, and all Zurziel has to say about it is, come on, take it, you won't, and I am living for it. Complete Bicon. Evil Eye Confrontation is a quick play spell that you can activate if you control an Evil Eye monster. You target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it, and if you do, and Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, banish that destroyed card. So it's a Mystical Space Typhoon if you have an on-theme monster, and Cosmic Cyclone without the cost if you also have Selene. And while it might seem innocuous, after all Zurziel can destroy cards with ease, on-theme spell and trap removal that's not tied to a monster is something a lot of decks take for granted. Like, you have a way to out Mystic Mine, and since Konami refuses to do anything about it, having your emergency ground snake close at hand is the next best thing. Now, you know how I said the theme revolved around one equip card? Well, it still does, but we have another version of it to help bolster our numbers. Evil Eye of GoldenNovaYugioh is an equipped spell that can only be equipped to an Evil Eye monster. You can only activate one per turn, and this card's name becomes Evil Eye of Selene while in the spell and trap zone. While your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster gains attack equal to the difference. And you can banish this card from your grave and discard an Evil Eye card to add an Evil Eye spell or trap from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself. While not providing the same kinds of protections as base Selene, it is much safer as it's not going to sap your life points for using it. In fact, if your life points are already lower, you'll get the difference as attack immediately, so you don't have to work up for it. Oh hey Arneos, what are you doing here? And if it ever gets trashed, you can banish GoldenNovaYugioh and discard an Evil Eye card from your hand, preferably Katobla to get your hands on the genuine article. GoldenNovaYugioh may be a pretty sweet piece of tech, but a knockoff is still a knockoff. Evil Eye Repose is a continuous spell that, when activated, lets you banish an Evil Eye card from your grave to draw a card. Once per turn, during damage calculation, if your Evil Eye monster equipped with an Evil Eye of Selene attacks an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster. And if this card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can target up to 3 of your banished Evil Eye cards and return them to the grave. This gives you an actual good target for Surziel's mandatory destruction effect. By destroying this, you can get back all the GoldenNovaYugios and other Evil Eye spells and traps you've banished to bring back Selene, giving you a chance to use their effects all over again and use them as fodder. It's also nice to have a little Shadal construct but better effect to out anything that resists being pummeled by battle or card effects. And all of that is wrapped up in a little extra draw to help you along. Just the kind of amenities that help you kick back, relax, and enjoy the finer things in life. Like the systematic annihilation of all those you despise. That's the life. Evil Eye Domain Pareidolia is a field spell that, when activated, adds an Evil Eye monster from your deck to your hand. And once per turn, during damage calculation, if your Evil Eye monster is attacked while the Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, you can make the battle damage you take from this battle also inflicted on your opponent. And if this card in the field spell zone is destroyed by an effect, you can target an Evil Eye monster in your grave and add it to your hand. This makes for another really good target for Surziel to blast for their mandatory effect, as the battle damage effect isn't really gonna go off because it only works when our monsters are attacked, not if they're attacking. We don't get to pull off any Amazoness swordswoman tactics here. But it does kind of have a magical meltdown feel to it. Pareidolia searches Surziel, which searches Selene, and now all of your plays are unlocked. This also makes them another pretty anime boy that tampers with powers beyond their understanding, causing their bodies to be warped beyond recognition. Looks like it's not just the lore points that get recycled in Yu-Gi-Oh, huh? Evil Eye Defeat is a normal trap that you can activate if you control an Evil Eye monster. You can target a monster on the field, or up to 2 instead if the Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, and return them to the hand. Once again, this is an on-theme version of a staple card, this time compulsory evacuation device, with the upside of turning it into double compulse if you have Selene. It's actually a fairly powerful piece of removal, getting rid of some very powerful threats without having to worry about any graveyard triggers. And I wish I could say more, but this art just, it makes me so sad. It hits me right in the same part as those really upsetting episodes of Pokemon where they get really hurt. That's not fair, Konami, you can't do this to me! Evil Eye Mesmerism is a continuous trap that you can activate when your opponent special summons any number of monsters by targeting one of the monsters summoned in attack position with less attack than an Evil Eye monster you control. Take control of the target, and when that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. When Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, that targeted monster is also treated as an Evil Eye monster, making it legit material for Surziel. It's no crackdown, but it has its charms. While the monster needing to have lower attack than your Evil Eye is thematically appropriate, as it's likely supposed to be tied to the power one is gained from Selene, it can be pretty unwieldy if you're not given the time to build up that power. Though the fact that the monster you take can become an Evil Eye monster means you can equip them with Selene and GoldenNovaYugioh, giving them some wild benefits they were never supposed to have. Just remember though, you can only activate this when the monster you want to take is special summoned in attack position. This card has a lot of stipulations, but if nothing else, this card art acts as a warning to show us the evil, vile, and unnatural power that is JoJo posing. Evil Eye Retribution is a counter trap that can be activated when a spell or trap card is activated while you control an Evil Eye monster. You negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And if Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, this card's activation and effect can't be negated. That seems a little bit like overkill, considering counter traps are some of the most difficult to respond to in the game, with only other counter traps being able to respond to them on a chain. But that does mean that having a Selene means that it's immune to being meddled with by those counter traps, as well as some other fringe cases. For instance, with this little bonus, it will resolve under Royal Decree, or while it's in an imperm column, though it cannot sidestep things that keep it from being activated in the first place, like a Forbidden Droplets that discarded a trap card. Honestly though, looking at the art, I can't really blame Zerziel for lashing out. They've got so many eyes that portend an ominous fate coming out of their bodies that it'd make the Dark Lord Sauron blush. Alright, so that's all the Evil Eye cards, but what do we do with them? Well, despite the massive attack boost from Selene, we're not exactly aggro. Our power is only centered on 1 or 2 monsters, while the rest of our cards focus on solidifying our board state and taking out our opponent's cards. As such, we're the kind of control deck that watches our opponent squirm until they have nothing left before swinging in with Zerziel for a clean kill. So what can we play to help them out? Since the Evil Eye of Selene is so integral to our theme, we'll want as many ways to get access to it as possible. While Hidden Armory will take up your normal summon, which is very crucial for this deck, Armory Call has a tiny bit of delay, but otherwise works just as well without using that normal summon. It can also be attached directly to your monsters, so you even get the extra effect immediately. One theme that you should look into for splashing is Live Evil Twins. Link, Kiss-a-Kill, and Lilla provide a very powerful advantage loop that only locks you into summoning fiends from your extra deck, which suits us just fine. Home does end up keeping you from summoning anything but Evil Twins from your extra deck that turn, but that's actually not that bad for us. While our extra deck monsters are pretty solid, a Zerziel equipped with Selene can do a pretty good job of holding down the fort for a turn, especially when backed up by the twins. And bonus, if you need to resolve Zerziel's mandatory destruction effect, blowing up one of the twins is actually great because it allows the other one to summon it out of the grave to proc their effect. Another theme that works really well with us is Unchained. Every card in that theme wants to be destroyed, so when Zerziel's mandatory effect pops one of our on-theme back row, then that just gets you a free summon right there. And unlike Live Evil Twins, none of this theme's lockouts affect us. While Zerziel can only use Evil Eye monsters as material, Gorgon has no such compunction. They can be made by folding any monster and an Evil Eye together, which makes effects that take our opponent's monsters have a little extra value. We already have Mesmerism, but if you don't want to deal with all the red tape that comes with that, we can always just play Crackdown, Mind Control, or Change of Heart. I cannot believe I get to say that in videos now. Combine that with a fully powered Reemergence and you can ladder your way up to Zerziel, no problem. As for a silly tech pick, Swords at Dawn is a pretty great way to pull one over on your opponent. Despite all your efforts, eventually your opponent is gonna find a way to get rid of the Eye of Selene before going in for the kill. But chain Swords at Dawn to any kind of removal and you can regain those protections for the turn. Alternatively, if your opponent wants to run over your monster, slap GoldenNova on the attack target and watch your opponent cry. And that's all I have to say about Evil Eye. They're bad to the bone and they aren't afraid to let anyone know about it. Establish your occult power early, and there isn't a single boss monster in the entire game that can stand up to the shadowy powers at your beck and call. Now Kaijus on the other hand, they're a whole other deal. We don't mess with Kaijus. If your opponent's playing them, just scoop it up. There is no glory to be found here. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Evil Eyes the ideal candidate for your next deck, or are they going to have to wait for some corrective lenses? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to show your support, ring that bell so you don't miss an episode, and share this video with someone you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode was brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander, Ashling Waltz, Nebula Navigators 3rd Dynasty, Avagule, Adam Zajdel, Biohazard 011, Eric, Frankie, Genesis Yu-Gi-Oh!, Gloomba 331, Great Big Pillock, Howling Zangetsu, Inblink, Ironic, John Manji, Julius Sneezer, Larakia, Mighty Action X, Panther J, Rebel King Lucifer, Ruxith Sarani, Shooting Star 3300, The Fresh Prince of Conair, The Wizard Moose, Tyler Cranston and Xander Wolfensberger, Cosmic Crusaders, Bear Sharktopus Studios, Chaz Ghost, Corbinisms, Cozy Boat 275, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Jesus Garcia, Manga Pages, Marion James E. Picata, Nitromo, RGS, Rem T. Bright and the legendary Raven, as well as the wonderful Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. I'm only able to continue doing this thanks to the support of these lovely people, so if you'd like to be a part of these credits as well as help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, please check out my YouTube membership or Patreon links in the description to see if I have anything you'd like on offer. And if you'd like to see another deck that has a hankering for spending life points, check out this video I made covering Dinomorphias. And if you want to see two Yugi tubers going at it, check out Noah Jenk and I's latest series, Progression Polls, where your voice shapes the format. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.